Your mind is lying to you right now. Not sometimes, not under extreme conditions, right now. And these 6 cases prove exactly how far it will go. Horror number 1. Sleep paralysis. The night hag. You open your eyes. The room is dark. You're completely, undeniably awake. You can see the ceiling, the outline of your furniture, the faint light bleeding under the door, and you cannot move. Not your fingers, not your jaw. You try to pull a breath deep enough to scream, and your chest barely responds. You are conscious, fully present, and locked out of your own body. Then something moves at the edge of the room, a shadow at the foot of the bed, a crushing weight on your chest, a figure standing just outside your field of vision, silent, patient, watching. You cannot run. You lie there, entirely aware, while your mind places something unspeakable into the room with you. Every culture in recorded history has a name for this. Medieval Europeans called it the night hag. In Japan, kanashibari, bound in metal. In China, guya shen, ghost pressing on body. Civilizations separated by oceans and centuries, all arriving at the same explanation. A supernatural entity entering the room, pinning the sleeper down. Because the alternative, that your mind was generating this, was harder to accept. During REM sleep, the brain paralyzes your body to stop you acting out your dreams. Sometimes consciousness returns before that paralysis releases. You wake up. The body does not. In that gap, the brain reaches into your deepest fears and projects them into the room around you. The figure is not there, but every system responsible for determining what is real has already confirmed it. You are trapped inside your own body, sharing a room with something your mind built, and you cannot move until it decides to let you go. Horror number 2. Kotards Syndrome. The Walking Dead. His name was Graham. In the early 2000s, a British man suffered severe depression following a near-fatal accident. He recovered physically. By every measure, he was alive. Then he stopped believing it. Graham looked his doctors in the eyes and told them, with complete calm, that he had died, that his brain was gone, that his organs had dissolved, that the body before them was a shell, a corpse that hadn't learned to fall down. He stopped eating. Why would a dead man need food? He spent hours at the cemetery, wandering among headstones, the only place that matched what he believed he was. This is Kotards Syndrome, also known as walking corpse syndrome. Patients develop an unshakable belief that they are dead. The brain severs the connection between recognizing the self and the experience of existing. The person sees their reflection. They recognize the face, but no feeling is attached to it. No sense of being alive. In the absence of that feeling, the brain draws one conclusion: I must be dead. Every piece of evidence you offer gets absorbed and dismissed. Dead people don't need to be convinced of anything. Graham eventually recovered. He knew in retrospect it was impossible, but while he believed it, it was the only thing that felt true. Your sense of being alive is generated, moment to moment, by 3 pounds of tissue that can get it catastrophically wrong without warning. Horror number 3. Capgras Delusion. The imposter. Picture someone you love. Hold their face in your mind. The way they look when tired, the sound of their laugh, expressions they make when no one is watching. Now imagine one morning, without warning, something is wrong. The face is identical. The voice is perfect. Every memory they reference, every gesture, every detail checks out. But the signal that should fire, the one that says this is them, I am safe, does not arrive. In that silence, your mind builds the only explanation. This is not them. This is someone wearing their face. Capgras Delusion is a documented condition in which a person becomes convinced that a loved one has been replaced by a perfect imposter. A flawless copy, which makes everything worse because the perfection becomes the evidence. How could anyone be this accurate unless they were deliberately deceiving me? Researchers believe it involves a disconnection between the brain's facial recognition system and its emotional response center. The face registers correctly. The feeling, warmth, safety, never arrives, and the brain fills that gap with the most coherent story available. Every act of love becomes a performance by someone wearing a mask. The person who knows everything about you has become, in the only reality that matters, your most intimate danger. Horror number 4. The Bystander Effect, The Silence of the Crowd, March 13th, 1964, New York City, 3:15 in the morning. A 28-year-old woman named Kitty Genovese is walking home from work. A man follows her. He attacks her outside her building. She screams, calls for help loud enough to wake the entire street. Lights come on. Faces appear in windows. 38 people witness it. Nobody moves. She dies on the steps of her own building, surrounded by people who watched and did nothing. They found a cognitive flaw hardwired into every human brain, the bystander effect. The more people present during an emergency, the less likely any individual is to act. The mind looks to others for cues. It sees stillness. It reads stillness as a signal. And below conscious thought, it concludes, someone else has this handled. Responsibility doesn't multiply in a crowd, it dissolves. When people believed they were the only one hearing a seizure, 85% intervened. When 4 others could also hear it, that number collapsed to 31%. Same emergency, same suffering, completely different response, based entirely on how many people the mind believed were watching. It happens today. Thousands watching someone in crisis, scrolling past, the crowd creating the same diffusion that killed Kitty Genovese in 1964. The crowd doesn't make you safer. In the moments that matter most, it is the reason you disappear. Horror number 5. Stockholm Syndrome. Loyalty to the Cage. August 1973. Stockholm, Sweden. A man walks into a bank, fires at the ceiling, takes 4 employees hostage, 6 days in the vault, their food, movement, their lives under his control. When police end it, the hostages defend him. One develops romantic feelings toward him. They raise money for his legal defense. It begins with terror, biological fear of death. Then the captor offers something small, a blanket, permission to stand, one moment of mercy inside absolute control. The mind, starved for safety, attaches to that gesture with force completely disproportionate to its size, because against the baseline of terror, a blanket feels like salvation. Gratitude forms, then attachment, then loyalty so complete the victim adopts the captor's worldview. Rescue becomes the threat. Documented in abuse, survivors, cult members, prisoners of war. The circumstances change. The mechanism never does. A mind under sustained threat will bond with any source of relief, even if that source is causing the suffering. It is not weakness. It is the survival protocol executing perfectly. The real tragedy is where that protocol leads. Horror number 6. The Intruder Effect. The unseen presence. You are alone. You checked, the door is locked, and yet something is behind you. No sound, no movement, just a primal certainty that something is sharing this space, watching, just outside your line of sight. The Intruder Effect describes the sensation of an unseen presence when none exists. It appears in extreme isolation, polar expeditions, solitary confinement, open ocean sailing. People describe it not as a feeling, but as fact. More convincing than anything perceived with their actual senses. Ernest Shackleton, stranded in Antarctica in 1916, wrote of a 4th figure accompanying his team across the ice. Climbers on Everest report the same. Solo sailors, prisoners in isolation cells. The brain, starved of external input, manufactures its own. The first template it reaches for is another human presence. Push it far enough and it creates company from nothing. It builds you a companion, renders it with complete conviction, places it right beside you. You are alone. Your mind refuses. 6 conditions, 6 prisons. Not one required anything from outside. Every horror on this list was constructed internally by the same organ you trust to tell you what is real and whether you are safe right now. The mind is not just where you live. It is the only place you have ever been. The question was never whether it could betray you. The question is whether you would recognize it if it already had. The most inescapable prisons feel, from the inside, completely like home.